Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Benzo Free Guru. My name is Erin, and I'm here to continue sharing my journey of coming off benzodiazepine. For those of you who didn't see my intro video, you may want to go check that out so you can see what's going on here and get caught up, and then jump back to my segment here. Today I'm going to be talking about cold turkey, and it's something that I've been thinking about, and I'm like, it's pretty much the crux of everything that launched me into my journey. So I thought it would be really important to kind of touch upon that in the beginning. And, it definitely is intense and happens, but it's something that I think I needed to experience in order to know what needed to happen. And, so you can apply cold turkey to anything. It's like smoking cigarettes, eating, drinking, I don't know, just coming off anything. And what it is just like a rapid pace of coming off something that your body's accustomed to. And, cold turkey is never the way you want to come off a benzo, believe me. And there's many people out there that have done it, and I give them huge props, and they've continued on their journey, and they're, a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, but man, it's really crazy. I had kind of my own small experience of cold turkey a few times, like minimal ones. I'd not have my medication for a few days, and you just, start feeling it a little bit, but never, to the longevity that I experienced it until 2008. So I moved to Southern California in September of 2008. The happiest time of my life. It was the best thing I ever done. For people that know me, know that really well. And for those of you that don't, it was just, I had always wanted to move to California, and I decided to make it happen. And I left with 2 suitcases, and it was amazing. I met people there that changed my life forever. And so at the end of my stay there, things were kind of rocky. I was thinking about coming back. I was leaving a job and trying to find a new one, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and things just weren't working out the way I had planned, so to speak. I kind of wanted them to be a little different, and it wasn't. But isn't that how life is sometimes, So I had been running low on my medication, and I had, while I was there, I had been going to clinics to get my script filled, and just kind of going to different clinics, every few months, and they had filled my script, which looking back on that now, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. These people that didn't even know me, knew me for like a short amount of time, were still writing me a controlled substance. But again, I'm glad that happened the way it did, because I wasn't ready at that point for any withdrawals or cold turkey or any of that, until like the end. And even then I wasn't ready, but that's what happened. So, I said I'd been going to clinics, and they would, write me a few scripts, so it'd get me through and I'd go back again. So, when I was like, before the time when I moved home, I didn't have money for a clinic visit. So I was like, shoot, what am I going to do? So I had seeked out online some kind of like mental health facilities and places, and I was like, oh, maybe they can help me, and then I can, go from there. So I had, seeked out where they were located and went to this place. And I kind of walked in, explained my situation, and like right from the beginning, they were like, oh, we don't prescribe controlled substances. And I was like, ooh. And like that in general just makes you feel not so good. Because one, I'm like, this is a shitty situation. And 2, you're like, oh, great. Just makes you feel like more of an addict than you planned on being. And, so I was like, okay. So like, we'll figure out what we can do to help you. So I was like, all right, well, this is what's happening. Let me just sign up for this process. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to do this. This is what's going to happen. And I had been doing a lot of inner work while I was there as well. And I had learned this really cool technique from Access Consciousness, which you end up asking questions instead of like spiraling downwards. Like instead of being like, why is this happening to me? What's going on? You ask like really affirmative questions. So you're like, I started being like, what would it take to come off of this medication successfully? What is it going to take for me to stop taking this medication and feel okay? And the reason why I started writing all that down is because I kind of had always wanted this to happen, but was never ready. I knew it was something I wanted to do, but I was always scared and made up excuses why I wasn't going to come off of it, and then I'd do it later and all these things. So in this process, on this particular day, I was like, this is what's happening. I'm coming off this, or at least it was, even if I wanted to or not. So I decided to take my notebook out, and I wrote forever and just kept writing these questions. So I was there for like the entire day. I remember being at this place for like 6 hours, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. But it was what was happening. And I really think that I just like launched something that day. Just like, here we go. So I finally got to see the visiting psychiatrist at the end of the day on Skype, which was really intense. I've never really done Skype, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, I'm talking to this guy. I'm kind of flipping out because I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but this was happening. So he kind of goes over a few things with me, and then he writes out kind of a plan from the amount of medication that I had left. And then in addition to that, he gave me a prescription for Neurontin, which is gabapentin, and that was supposed to be for the anxiety spikes. Yeah, right. Okay. Their thoughts are, if the medication, like the Klonopin or Ativan, all those, the Benzodiazepine, what they do is they work on the GABA receptors. So once you don't have them in your body, there's a lot of excitability there. So their thoughts are to give you something, to give you GABA, which will then help. But it doesn't help. Whatever, maybe their thoughts were it would, but I did try and take it, and it didn't do anything. Which just made it worse. But those of you that have been through this or tried or know people that have, like, adding things in doesn't always help, at least in my experience, like adding anything in. And I'm super into homeopathic and alternative, but even some of those things you can't even add in. You know, it's just like, you gotta ride it out. I mean, there's a lot of things you can, but mainly no, and especially like things to kind of aid in that sense, like where they're trying to give me the gabapentin. I was like, no. But that's, again, it was just what it was. And I remember just being like, this is intense, and it got really intense for me. Thank God, though, one of my really good friends was staying with me in my room, and this was at the time that I was like getting ready to move back. I think I had already been like, I just gave up. I was like, all right, moving home. I guess this is where the process is taking me. And things were kind of getting worse on the withdrawal end. And no one knew. I wish I had like kind of been strong enough to share it with people, but I was like so, I don't know, just embarrassed and ashamed. And I was just like, I don't want to tell anyone what's happening. And then it's like, how do you even explain that? Like, oh, I'm in withdrawals right now from my anti-anxiety medication. I mean, I know sometimes I made a bigger deal than it was, but it still is a big deal. And so I didn't really share that with anyone. I just kind of went through it. And but at the time, she was staying with me, and we would stay up really late every night. I remember we watched Sex and the City, and it was amazing. I remember just being like, wow, it was like enough distraction for me for a few hours, and it just was so good. Because that time was really scary. I mean, I was hallucinating and having sweats and just crazy racing thoughts, like crazier than I've ever normally have them anyway. And sleeping was really challenging. So we'd stay up to like 2 or 3. And I actually like felt kind of safe, because I felt not safe all day long. So it was nice to have that. Still kind of get like choked up about it, because I don't know what I would have done if she wasn't there. And, you know, it was really awesome to have that support system, just a person next to me. Just something, because it was really scary. And I remember like leaving was hard. It was like leaving in the midst of withdrawals. Oh my God, I got through though, you know, I got through. I remember being like, wow, okay, you know, I'm doing this. And I flew home, and that was the first time I had flown without any medication, and that was intense. So on top of not having a medication, I'm withdrawing, and now I'm on a plane for 6 hours. And that was, I don't even know what I did. I must have like watched movies, read music. I don't even know. I kept myself as occupied as I could, but it was really challenging. And then I got home, and I didn't want to be home, and I mean, I just don't even want to go on and on and on about that. But it was pretty intense. And I remember I stayed with my sister for a month, and I didn't even want to see my friends because I couldn't even look at them. I couldn't even look at people in the face. I could barely like talk. I could barely function. So it was like horrible to go see all my friends and be like, hey, I'm home. Because I was like on the low end of depressed and on the high end of anxiety. And I don't know. But, so I remember like staying with my sister, and then like my days were full of talk radio. I remember I was just talking about this with someone the other day, and I'm like, wow, this is a low point in my life. I remember I would stay home all day, like laying down, listening to talk radio. I don't know. And then I would like make myself go to the library for the amount of time I could stand being there to look online for a job. Oh my God. And it was freezing cold out. I mean, it was just like, ugh. So I remember this one particular night, I had this really long conversation with my mother. And I remember it was really intense. And I remember these like turning points, and this was one. She was like, Erin, you're scaring me. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, I knew it was happening. I could like watch myself and know it was happening, but I couldn't, I don't even know. Like, it was like glimpses I could pull myself out of it, but I was like, but this is what's happening to me. I was like having crazy motor function skills or not having them. I would walk and my feet felt weird, and the ground felt like it was just like not there, and my arms wouldn't link up to how my brain was. I mean, it was really crazy. But I think explaining that out loud got scarier to people. And she was like one person I feel like could completely just be like, here's what's happening, and thank God for that. But I'm sure it's terrifying to hear your daughter tell you all that information. So we talked it out, and I was like, fine, I'll start taking the medication again. But then I am coming off this crap as soon as I come on, go back on it. Like, I was like, I'll take it, but then I'm finding someone to help me come off of it, and this shit's going to end. And I just was like, I remember feeling like the phoenix, like rising from the ashes. I was like, this is nuts. I'm taking my life back. This has to happen. And I remember I went upstairs, and I took like probably half of the dose that I used to take before I ran out. And I remember just being like, all right. And I was angry. I was really angry. And I took it, and it was like within a few minutes, it was like, boom, I was fine. It was like those 2 months never existed. It was crazy. And I remembered strongly in that moment, it's like, I have a huge problem. This is deeper than I even realized. This is way over my head right now, but I just was like, okay. And I held strong to that. I was like, holding strong. And I seeked out professionals and this and that, and kept going, And, but yeah, I mean, that was my 2 months cold turkey experience. And I share it because it was really like a pinnacle point, like, because I, from there, pulled up strength I didn't even know I had, or at least I knew I had, but had been hiding somewhere. And just like made shit happen. And, and that was back in, I think that was 2010. So yeah, so it was, it's kind of like I said, it was the crux of getting into, the end spot of being off of it completely. And it's really important. And a lot of people that, are in benzo withdrawal, they started it cold turkey. And, now they're a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out. And I give you utmost props. I have no idea how you kept going with that. Because as I mentioned in my intro video, at the very end of me coming off my medication, it was a liquid taper, which doesn't shock your brain, doesn't shock your body. It allows your brain to heal. And, I'll talk about that obviously later in my series. But I believe it was what allowed me to get to this point of coming off the medication, being off the medication. And, I definitely think it's really, really important. And to this day, I'm like, even now, I mean, a year out, I'm like, my brain is still healing. And I still experience some symptoms is what I meant to say, like minimal, but it's still, again, like I said, I'm going to keep my story as positive as possible. And I am, and I will, and that's the plan. But sometimes here I am going to express some of my experience as intense as it happened, or share that with you all so you understand where I'm coming from. And I really want to do that because that's the whole truth. You know, that's me. That's me being real. That's me being real about this situation or real about what really happened. But I will always keep it positive, you know. That's how I was able to come off of it. But anyway, all right. I hope you watched the entire length of this video. I know it got kind of long, but thank you for visiting. I will see you all next week, and have a good day.